Kia ora, namaste, sastriyakal, kemcho, varakam, nisa bula vinaka. Welcome to Cop Chat. I'm Jessica Puang, the Ethnic Responsiveness Manager for Tamaki Makaurau of the New Zealand Police. First of all, I'd like to thank Apna TV for allowing us to use this platform to reach out to the communities. Today, I have the privilege of inviting Inspector Michael RICARD, the Waitemata District Road Policing Manager, to have a chat with me. Welcome, Inspector Michael RICARD.
Thank you, Jessica. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you to come to Cop Chat. Right. I know that you've just been promoted to our Waitemata District Road Policing Manager. Congratulations to you.
Yes, thanks very much. I'm very excited about the new role. I've spent the last few years in the Rodney area as the rural manager, and I've also relieved a little bit as the area commander for the Rodney area as well. So I'm very pleased to be able to take up this role and excited about the new position.
So, for the sake of the audience, what are some of the things you could share with us about the difference between the rural and the city in terms of policing?
Well, obviously the population growth and the area, for instance, Rodney is approximately about 2,500 or 2,800 square kilometres of area to cover, and obviously our police officers are far more spread out, so they police in a different way. They're also, in some of the areas, they're on call overnight basis and respond to community needs. We do have a 24-hour station at Orewa and Warkworth, unlike the urban areas where there is full 24-hour stations. But that's right across the nation and country areas.
So in terms of road safety, is there a vast difference, or is it quite similar between the rural and the urban areas?
So quite different actually.
How so?
The urban areas is heavily congested, generally lower speeds, and the rural areas is predominantly open country roads,
right,
which present a higher risk. You're driving at higher speeds, and there's more challenges in terms of the roads that you're driving on in the country.
Okay. District Commander Naila Hassan just sent an email to many of us complimenting your work, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
As she mentioned, Mike has a very solid operational foundation and brings his warm leadership style and wealth of experience of road policing, having worked in both the metro and rural environment. And I think with this experience, now that you are the district road policing manager, I'm sure many people and even our staff will be learning from you and gaining benefit from all the expertise that you have. So now, I came to New Zealand more than 30 years now. In the past, Auckland is quite a relaxed city. But nowadays, obviously, traffic is changed, population is changed, it's very busy on the roads. So today, my chat with you is more around around Auckland, in the city. All right. So with this phase that we are now, very busy phase, can you share with us some of the scenarios which will be good advice for us to keep safe on the roads?
Sure, Jessica. So probably our biggest at-risk behaviours are restraints, making sure that you're wearing your seatbelt all the time, very important. Driver impairment is another one in relation to using cell phones, and I'll talk about that shortly if you like in more depth. And distraction is making sure that you're concentrating on your driving and not other things in the vehicle. Speed is another factor that influencing driving behaviour, and impairment in relation to driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So those are our four biggest at-risk behaviours that we look for.
Which one is the top risks?
Well, they're all risks,
to
be honest.
Risks.
They all carry significant risk.
Okay.
And that is the area that we look at the most in terms of trying to reduce incidents of that type of driving behaviour. So, for instance...
Can I just ask then, you mentioned about safety belts.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people, well, first of all, are there lots of people not wearing safety belts?
We still see a significant number of people not wearing them.
Why do you think so?
Really, it's a mindset, I think, more than anything. Most of the modern cars have alarm systems that activate if you don't have your seatbelt on, so the majority of people do. But
because my car will make a lot of noise when it goes ding,
yes,
ding, ding,
that's
ding, ding,
right.
and it's quite irritating.
Yes.
So it is automatic that
you put it on.
Well, I wear the safety belt not because of the noise, but I know it's safe for me. My life is important enough, you know, that I keep myself safe. So
we still see people sort of, I'm just going down the road to get some milk, or I'm just going to drop off the kids.
I see.
Those short distances, they think, oh, what's the problem? I'm only doing 40 or 50 kilometres an hour, but it is actually still a significant risk. So it's habit forming. As soon as you get in the car, you put your belt on. It's really straightforward. It's not rocket science. It's been around for a long time. So it's just taking that, ensuring that habit is well entrenched and that you do it all the time.
Can you give me a scenario that the impact it could give when a person is not wearing a safety belt? Because the fact is, and I think this, like you say, is a short distance or it's just a quick drop. At the same time, I suppose many people could think, well, this is the city, we don't speed anyway, so the impact is not going to be that big. I would like you to share with our community the impact if someone doesn't wear a seat belt, even in the city.
Well, it's not just your own speed that you have to understand, it's also the collective speed of potentially an oncoming car that you might hit. Combined is going to create huge forces. Even at speeds of 50 or 60 kilometres an hour, that's still a significant speed, and without a belt, it's highly probable that you could go through the windscreen, you hit the windscreen, and resulting in serious injury or worse. So there are significant risks to not wearing your belt.
So in some of those fatalities that we often hear in the media, do people actually fly through the windscreen if they're not wearing a seat belt? Can you share some of
Some
these?
do, yes. Sadly, they're going at such a speed that people think they can brace themselves on the steering wheel, but often you can't. And we have had people going straight through the windscreens because they haven't been wearing seatbelts. And had they worn a seatbelt, they may be here today.
Right. Okay. It's
That's
almost like
reality.
when you must wear a helmet when you drive
Yes,
a motorbike. It's very similar
an absolute
to that.
must,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. What about the airbags then? Doesn't the airbags protect them?
Yes, absolutely. And look, technology's come a long way in vehicles, and airbags are a fantastic piece of equipment which definitely saves lives, absolutely. But not all cars have airbags, and even airbags still carry, people don't realise, there's still a possibility of being injured when the airbag deploys, because it's still a lot of force going on there.
Okay. So I suppose the force is so great at times, even at people may think 50, 60 is not fast, but actually when in the impact of a crash, it can be so great, even at 50, 60, that the airbag may not be able to protect the person.
That's right.
Yeah, so the advice here is, it is so important as soon as you get into the car, you lock the car, you put on your safety belt before you start your engine. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about phones.
Yes. Phones are a big item, particularly in the urban areas, in the city areas. Time is money for people, you know, and they often will try and get onto their phones whilst they're driving, particularly in heavily congested areas. Again, this is a distraction that will inevitably result in accidents, and people need to realise that it is illegal to use your cell phone while you're driving in this country.
And the fine is?
The fine is $80, which is very low compared to other countries.
Okay.
A lot of people we pull over seem to think that it's okay to use applications on their cell phones such as Navman or navigation systems. If you're using your phone in your hand, it doesn't matter whether you're on the phone, whether you're texting, or whether you're using an application such as a navigation.
Or even looking at a message.
At a map.
Yep.
Yep. That's illegal. You're still using your phone.
Okay.
People think it's okay to, but I was just looking at maps. Well, you should be looking on a hands-free set, not actually having the phone in your hand, because it's the same principle that you're actually looking down, looking up, and you see the people when you're driving along, and you can see people going like this. So they're going like this, and they're busy, and next minute they're coming up behind the person in front of them and there's an accident. Or they're holding back so far from the car in front of them because they know they need to have a gap, because they know their reaction is slow. So they're looking up or looking down, and they're creating more congestion on our roads by trying to compensate that distance and using their phone.
So what's your advice to people who, because sometimes people drive along and, I've got lost now.
Yep.
I really need to find the place, the destination. What is your advice for these people like that?
So pull over, stop, enter what the area you need to get to, and then hit your go on your maps, put it down or put it in a place where you're not going to have to pick it up, and then carry on driving. But do not start picking it up and reading it or messaging. And it's the same with texts. If you get a text, there's you can have an automated message on your phone. I can't call you right now, I'm driving. How urgent is a phone call or a text that you actually have to take your eyes off the road and place yourself in danger and the people around you just to answer a phone?
Correct. Yeah.
It's really quite simple.
Yeah.
Pull over and stop if it's that urgent.
In fact, I have many friends that sometimes when I call them, and they're very good, they say that they won't answer my calls, and later on they'll call me back and say, I'm actually driving just now.
Yep.
And some of them even left the voicemail as a message, and they would say, if I'm not taking your phone, I could probably be driving.
Yeah,
I think
great.
that was really, really good.
That's fantastic, and
Yes.
that's exactly
Yes.
what they should be doing.
I would also like to talk about if there's a car crash, an accident, what should people do?
Okay, so if there's a car crash which involves death or injury, by law, you have to report that to police. Now, most of the time, particularly in the city and urban areas, the police will be attending that anyway, that crash. But should the police not arrive for whatever reason, or haven't been notified, they must be notified within 24 hours if it involves injury, obviously death or injury to a person. If you have an accident, let's say to a vehicle which is unoccupied, and you don't know who the owner is, you have to make attempts to, or property or a vehicle, you have to make attempts to contact that owner within a 48-hour period to let them know.
So if someone is parked
So
there,
say you've had a parked car, okay?
and someone crashed into your car,
Yep.
then there are some very good people who will put a note on the
Yep.
windscreen and say, I just saw this car crash into your car and left.
Yes.
And some car owners are very good. They crash into somebody's car and they put a note there. So
Yes.
in those cases, you are saying that they should notify the police?
No, they need to get hold of the owner.
Oh,
They're
they need to
required
get hold
to get
of
hold
the
of the
owner.
owner
Okay.
to notify them that I've crashed into your car.
All
They've
right.
got 48 hours to do that.
Okay.
There's an obligation on them.
And if they don't, what happens?
If they don't, then the matter can be reported to police if you cannot identify who the owner is.
All right, okay.
Yes.
All right, so if I do not know who the driver was who crashed into my car, even if I go to the police, what can the police do to help?
Well, the police can conduct an investigation in relation to the identity of that driver. We have the ability to look a bit further than the average person. And
So you really rely on CCTVs or
well, no,
witnesses?
well, CCTV and witnesses, if they're available, yes, but often the registration of the vehicle itself will tell us a lot about who the owner and the driver is.
But if the person has left, I wouldn't know then.
Okay, if you've got no registration, and the person's left from the
yeah.
accident scene, yes, then there's a number of avenues available to us, like you say, potentially CCTV or other avenues of inquiry that we have available to us to try and identify the owner of that vehicle and hold them accountable.
Okay, so now that's for when the drivers are not around. So what about if we're driving and two-car crash?
Yeah.
So what should those people do?
What they should do, if it's a very minor crash and there's no
injury,
no injuries,
no injuries.
So
okay.
they should exchange details and call their insurance companies.
Now, I seem to have a few phone calls from our communities saying that sometimes people give them false details.
Yes.
What is your advice for people to do then?
Right. That's when you probably should report the matter to police, because you cannot identify who the driver is, or the driver is now actively evading their own identity, and you can't take the process any further in relation to your vehicle and claiming insurance and that kind of thing. It's really about the drivers, by law, have an obligation to exchange details, and if one of them doesn't, then they're not complying with the law.
All
so
right.
then you should go to a police station. I've been in an accident, the driver's hasn't given me correct details, or he's left the scene.
So if there's a car crash, what I normally advise our communities is to take photographs of the car crash, a few angles, different angles, and even the place where the crash took place, and even the driver, because the car may not belong to that person. And sometimes when they ask for a driver's license of the person who is at fault, is it compulsory for them to give the driver's license details, or is it not necessary?
To who?
To the person at fault.
Yes.
Say the person crashed my car and it's that person's fault. Am I allowed to ask for his driver's license details?
You can ask for it, but they don't have to furnish a license to you. They do have to do that to police. Police have they have an obligation to furnish their details and produce their license. They have an obligation to provide you with details of their name and address and their vehicle under law if you have an accident.
The details, can you go over the details that I should ask in order, if say for example it evolves to an investigation, if they deny or later on, what are the details that a person must get from
the other driver?
So
you want a name,
the name,
address, phone number, and insurance company would be helpful too, so that you can advise your insurance company who their insurance company is.
Okay. I want to go back to before you talk about impairment. Yes. Can you elaborate on that?
On
alcohol?
Yeah. So we've seen a growing trend in relation to drug driving. People driving under the influence of drugs. And we've had a long history of drink driving in this country, which is slowly getting better. But the message is that any consumption of alcohol or recreational drugs and driving doesn't mix.
That includes cannabis?
It absolutely includes cannabis. Yes, it does.
Yes.
It's going to impair your ability to drive efficiently. So the message is, if you're going to go out for a good night on the town, or you're going to with friends for a few drinks, that you actually think about how you're going to get home before you go. So whether that's you take an Uber or a taxi, or you get a friend to pick you up, but don't drive to these events and just hope for the best and we'll just see how it goes, and then as the night progresses you're drinking, and then next minute you're in your vehicle when you're trying to get home. So what I'm saying is plan ahead. Yeah.
And of course, this is to my ethnic communities. I've learned in the Kiwi culture that a group of friends may want to go out for a good time, and knowing that they're going to consume alcohol, there's always a person called a sober driver, who is responsible to take the others home safely. and then maybe next week we go out together again. The next person will be the sober
Mm.
driver. So it's almost like they take turns.
Yes.
I thought that was a very good system.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and
Yes.
and look, some people go so far to say if I've got a group of friends and they all put $10 into a hat and they give it to the sober driver and they say, here you go, that's because you've been
Alright,
looking after us for the night.
Yes.
So that's their incentive not to drink and to look after their friends, and it pays for the petrol bill. And then all their friends can have a good time, and then, as you say, next week it'll be someone else's turn. And that's a great system, and it's a great way to have fun without putting anyone in danger.
That's a good idea, because I've never thought about that.
Mm.
I think next time I'll be the one, because I'm always the sober driver. So I'll
Well,
learn.
then you'll have to ask for some,
Yes, yes.
money.
And okay, I want to come back to that crash again. These are from the communities again. Sometimes, say for example, there's a crash and it's quite bad, and the car needs to be towed away. And a lot of our ethnic communities may not understand this, because it's the police who said that, hey, I'm going to tow your car away, or I'm going to get someone to tow away your car. Sometimes I know that the police have to ask the owner of the car if the owner is still wide awake, but could be in shock.
Yes.
And the police said, shall I get your car towed away? Now, for a person, they would say, yeah, because they're quite in shock. They don't realize what happens after that. They will be waiting for the police to call them back, thinking that, okay, I'm going to wait for the police to call me back and tell me what's happened to my cars. Can you share a little bit about what should people do if their car has been towed away? And this is a person who is either wide awake or could be sent to hospital already. Yeah.
So, Jessica, if we start at the higher end, let's say it's been a really serious crash, you've ended up in hospital,
Yeah.
there may be reasons on occasions where the police will actually seize the vehicle for evidential purposes,
Okay.
if it's a very serious crash, and they will take care of that and notify the owner. More often than not, when a crash occurs and you're still conscious and you're there, and the tow truck driver turns up, he'll ask you, do you want the vehicle towed? You have to give him authorisation to take the vehicle, and he will give you a card as to where that vehicle's gone. Now, if you happen to go to hospital and your vehicle gets towed, you can check. The police will not actually go to the extent of reaching out to you to contact you to tell you where the vehicle is, but you can contact them and they'll probably be able to advise you where that vehicle's been towed to, if it has been towed.
Okay, I need to have a little bit more clarity on this. So let's do the scenario 1 first. Scenario 1 is someone is got a car crash and is being hospitalized.
Yes.
Sent to hospital, whether in huge shock or coma. All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Let's put it that way. Now, if that person is in the hospital for a few days and now recovering, the next thing is to say, hey, where's my car?
Where's my car?
So the person should ask who, because they don't even know who the police officer is. Where should they call? That's my question.
Well, they can call the police, just the general police line, and make an inquiry.
105?
Yes,
Yeah.
call 105. Say, look, I've been in a serious accident on this date, this time. They can do some quick checks and will probably be able to see where that crash occurred and who the attending police officers were. They'll probably be able to check your vehicle registration. So this is really important. If you've got your vehicle registration, we can tell a lot about that, because we will, when the accident occurs, we will put a notation beside that the vehicle has been towed, if it is, and we'll be able to advise you where that has been towed to.
So should we call staff 555 or not?
No, it's not an emergency.
No.
It's only an
Okay.
inquiry.
So 105.
That's,
would be.
yes.
So call
It's a non-emergency.
Yeah. So call 105. Yep, for that matter. And then once you find out about the car, because it's so badly and I've been in hospital, whose responsibility is it to get back the car, or who pays for the storage?
Sure. So if it's a high-level accident
Yep.
Involving serious injury or death, and the police seize the vehicle as an exhibit, if you like, for evidential
and
purposes.
needs a longer time to investigate.
Yes, the police have taken ownership of that towage, so that we pay for that.
Okay.
Because we've taken that vehicle.
All right.
Most of the accidents, the owner will pay for towage.
So now let's talk about the lower end.
Yes.
Yes, I'm wide awake, but I'm in shock. So the police will say, shall I get your car towed away because it can't move now?
No, it can't. It can't go anywhere. So you have to think about, well, I can't drive the car home. It's got to go to a place of safety. Your insurance company will want it secured somewhere, and you want it off the road because it's probably going to be a risk sitting on the road to other road users, even if it's on the side. So you're going to want to move it at some point. You ultimately have to authorise that. So people just can't, unless it's actually in a place where it's dangerous, we will move it regardless. But if it's just a case of taking a vehicle from the side of the road to a tow yard, you have to authorise that, and that driver is liable for the fees of that towage.
So I think this is one very important message because I understand a lot of ethnic communities, they sometimes would think that, all right, the police have authorized a truck to tow it away. Although the police may have asked the person, would you like your car to be towed away?
Yes.
Or even if it's bad enough that it should be towed away, but the person is not in hospital, many of us would think that, well, you said to tow away, so you tow away. But in actual fact, what I would like to clarify is, in actual fact, it was I who authorized it because the police did ask, right?
Yes.
And therefore, it is my responsibility to check where the car has been towed to and to get it out of the tow yard. Otherwise, the fees will be piling up.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Now, probably the important thing at that point, Jessica, is that you notify your insurance company immediately so that they are able to go and assess your vehicle and then make a judgment around whether it's recoverable, whether it's repairable, or whether it's written off. That's between you and the insurance company. Most of the insurance companies will cover off that towage fee as well, I understand. So the police, of course, we attend many accidents. We realise that the vehicle is going to be undrivable, so we suggest that to the driver about what they may or may want to do with the vehicle. But it's ultimately up to them. You know, if they want to leave it on the side of the road, they could, provided it is in a safe position. But if it's undrivable, you know, you're really probably better off just to get it moved to the tow yard.
All right.
And advise your insurance company.
That's very good advice, and I hope that we've made it clear that if your car is being towed away, what's your responsibility should be, and take action so that at the end of the day you don't feel that why is my fees piling up. And also touching on that topic of you just mentioned about insurance, I think it is very important that people get at least a third-party insurance, isn't it?
Yes, very important. Very, very important.
Because in New Zealand there are lots of big, nice cars, Ferraris and all, and you don't want to crash into one of those cars.
No, you don't. And look, really, if you can afford to drive on the road, at the very least you should be able to afford third-party insurance. And it really is about protecting yourself.
Yes, I think protecting oneself is the priority. All right, while we talk about protecting oneself, I want to talk about speed. Can you give us some advice on, while we drive, the concept of driving at the correct condition and speed?
So perhaps first of all, when you see the speed sign, it's not actually a target. So I don't have to go and reach that speed. And you just hit the nail on the head there about driving to the conditions.
Yeah.
So depending on the weather conditions, you know,
say it's 80.
80k might not be appropriate when it's pouring with rain and there's a 40-knot side wind blowing into the side of your car. It may be more appropriate to drive at a more moderate speed.
Okay.
And we find, particularly in the rural sector, that people often drive too fast in poor conditions, and that's why we have so many accidents in the rural sector. In these areas here, we still have accidents, but they tend to be at lower speeds because there's greater congestion. But the message really is drive to the conditions and drive within the traffic flow as well. So we don't want people driving too ridiculously slow where they're actually impeding the flow of the traffic.
That's right, and I have heard that when people are driving too slow, they often would be stopped by the police.
Yes.
and told, you know, you need to drive to the conditions.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's just the balance.
Right. So nowadays we hear one or two a bit more stories about road rage.
Mm.
And often communities would call me and say, hey, I was driving and there was this guy who just showed me a finger or tell me, you know, you from this country, drive properly. What is your advice if people, you know, while driving, let's say two cars are driving and this is my car and the other person just showed me the finger. What should I do?
Okay, well, if you've done nothing wrong,
Yes.
you shouldn't be doing anything. You should ignore them.
Yeah.
Okay, don't engage with them,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly don't do anything back to incite someone who's obviously in an aggressive state.
Mm-hmm.
If you happen to do something wrong, like you've accidentally cut in front of someone, or you haven't indicated, and you know that, just wave out to them. Just acknowledge, sorry. You know,
Yeah.
put your hand up, really sorry. So you've just acknowledged. You've just said, look, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. We all make mistakes, don't we? And so do they. So that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's probably your best reaction, is no reaction under those circumstances,
Yeah.
and when
It's-
you haven't
it's-
done anything wrong.
True, I agree. It's like a couple at home. If one person makes a lot of noise and the others keep quiet,
Yeah.
there's no argument.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
I
kind of take
agree.
the wind out of the sails, and you're de-escalating a situation because perhaps they're looking to tempt you to retaliate in some way. And you don't want to go down there. It's just simply not worth it.
And I suppose sometimes people like to take this as road rage, as racism, because some of them do call out names or where you come from. What's your advice on how to cool ourselves down?
Well, look, you know, that kind of behaviour is totally uncalled for, obviously. And my advice would be, again, don't engage with them. Don't even give them a response. They're not even worthy of a response, quite frankly, people who behave like that. And they're just grasping at racist, you know, names for remarks to try and get under your skin. So just ignore them. Don't engage with them. And look, if you're really concerned and things start getting really nasty, then call police.
Yes, all right. And this is what I often advise communities is when you get into your car, the first thing you do is lock your door. So even sometimes at road rage, we've seen in media sometimes, some of those naughty drivers or angry drivers, let's say, they would get down of their car and try and abuse the person in front or at the side. But if your door is locked, then you're safe, and when it's the right condition, you drive off. So this is what I give advice to the people as well. So have you got anything else you want to share?
I guess probably coming from the rural environment, I would like to share a little bit of safety around, and it's not often talked about, but when people come in from overseas and they've been over for a long trip, or they've been on a long haul flight, and they leave the airport, we are sometimes seeing them having accidents 1 or 2 hours up the road, say in Wellsford. They've had a long haul flight, they're very tired and fatigued, they get in their vehicle, they drive 1 or 2 hours, they fall asleep, and they fall off the road, or they have a nasty accident. So the message there is, Jessica, that if you are having a long haul flight, you either get a taxi or you get someone to pick you up, but be very mindful, and this is to your friends that come to visit you from overseas as well, that they really need to be mindful, because their roads are very challenging, New Zealand roads, and very new, when people come off the plane,
Sure.
they're tired, and they jump in the car and they drive 2 hours. By the time they hit to somewhere like Wellsford, they're literally almost falling off the road because they're so tired. So it's something to think about when you arrive, and make some plans for people to pick you up or take a taxi.
Yeah, absolutely agree, because as human beings, this is not just, of course, not...
This is everyone.
Yeah, everyone, not just ethnic people. The fact is, we often tend to want to believe that, oh, it's just a little bit more, and we challenge ourselves to try and reach the destination, then I can sleep. In fact, that is so wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either we park aside, have a good rest, if we are traveling long distances, or call one of our friends, or even get Uber and next day come back and get the car.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, it's all about the value of our life, isn't it? Our life is, we can't use any sort of amount of money to compare the value of our life. And only we can at least take that responsibility to protect ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So take that time. If you've been driving for a couple of hours, pull over and have a cup of coffee, stretch the legs, get some fresh air, get a bit invigorated again, and get back into your vehicle refreshed, and then you're focused again. If you go too long, over long distances, you're going to get tired.
Okay.
So take care on our roads over the Labour weekend.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Inspector?
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Did you enjoy?
Absolutely, absolutely.
This chit chat is very good.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was wonderful.
Yes,
Thanks for
I
the
really
opportunity.
love this chat with you. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching Cop Chat, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. But if you have any feedback, please do drop us an email. Goodbye. See you again.